What's that problem you're trying to solve? That gap you're trying to close? Maybe it's more with less. And what would you need to master in order to consistently execute? Like, what skill could you master that problem would disappear, boom, instantly? Welcome to the Do the Impossible podcast. I'm Jason Drees. Don't forget to join me every Monday at 10 a.m. Central. Go to MondayMindsetReset.com, MondayMindsetReset.com to join my 20-minute mindset alignment call. Man, there's a lot going on right now. Yeah. How are you feeling? Like, this year is getting off to an interesting start. So much growth, so much expansion. And yes, more impossible targets. I'm aiming at impossible targets, but the impossible target this year is looking a lot different than the impossible target last year. The impossible target this year is more with less. More with less. Do you want more with less? I want more with less. It's been a curious new year as this 2023 starts to unfold. And I'm starting to realize myself that I'm ready to break free from old patterns that are causing me stress. Like, one of the biggest patterns that I've been trying to break is the pattern and the conditioning of working 40 hours a week. Do you have that? Like, do you have that conditioning in you where when you don't work or you're doing something during work hours that's not work, that you feel bad? It's ridiculous. Like, we're so conditioned in so many ways. And this year, I'm going to break that one. Is this the year for you to break that pattern too? I literally have been grinding for years. And last year, I worked crazy hours. And I'm my own boss, right? So it's like, I didn't have any excuse for not changing that. Do you have an excuse for changing it? Are you interested in changing it? Because you have the ability to do that. Now, whether we're talking about working less hours or taking more time off or playing golf again, whatever it is, you have the ability to create that change. Are you making that change right now? Because a lot of times we end up getting focused on certain types of change, and we just assume that the framework that we're operating in needs to stay that way. And this is actually a very important process. And I've created my book, Do the Impossible. And in that book, I talk about why we should do impossible things. I've also created a framework that basically I execute from. And that framework it starts out with a foundation, understanding of how doing the impossible works and how this alignment-based living works. We often get caught up thinking about the success or the target that we're aiming at. And we end up thinking about the target and obsessing about the target. What we don't think about is how we operate as we're moving towards the target. How your process now, because we get so fixated on the target, especially if you're an entrepreneur like me, and you love solving those big targets, you get fixated on those. But the thing is, your life is happening right now. It's in this process. How are you feeling in this process? Because the process you're operating in right now determines the result you're getting. And we usually focus on the action piece. But are you actually open to shifting your foundational framework of how you operate? Because a lot of times we don't. We assume, I got to work 8 hours a day. I have to plan my day. I have to do my morning routine. So all these have-tos start stacking up, which creates this invisible framework that supports you in some areas and holds you back in other areas. We want to start learning how to take advantage of the positive framework and habits and values that hold us in place and overcome the limitation. What's coming up for me and a lot of people right now this year is more with less. Because we certainly want more. Who doesn't want their results to expand? But we don't want more work. We don't want more stress. We don't want more politics in our face. None of that crap. We're sick of that. What if this year is the time where the balance of life and work starts molding into a path, into a way that has never been before? In a way that's like, what if the less you work, the more you make? Because I guarantee you probably have a belief in your head that says the more I work, the more I make. What if we flip that around? What if the less you work, the more you made? What if you became so amazing that people just sit there and waited? Because you could be a podcast and you could give them something every single day, or you can do a podcast episode every 2 months and leave your fans raving and craving for you, right? So what is that life you want? Like, is the work you want happening? Is the life you want happening? Are you ready to start creating that? But the real point here of this conversation, of this episode, is, are you operating in a way where you allow yourself to move and not be so rigid? Because we are fluent human beings. We can shift and mold at everything at any time. And one of the things I see a lot is a rigidity about how things work. So what if we started changing this year? What if this year means my work week is, work week is what I choose, or work week is 3 hours a day? Because man, that conditioning over 40 hours a week, and then Mondays through Fridays are work, is strong. Now, we would like to shift that immediately, because we all love those changes that happen in a moment. We love those lightning bolt strikes that change our life. We love those. But what do you do when you want to create a change and you don't know how to do it, or you don't, or it's not an immediate lightning bolt moment? Like, for example, it's like, yes, I want to figure out the path, the life where the less I work and the more I make. And that the majority of my time is living my life, and the minority of my time is working to live my life. So that's the direction I want to go. And right now I don't know that. I don't know that moment. But I want to start going that direction. So here's what I've learned is, instead of waiting for these lightning bolt moments, what you want to do is start walking a new path. The process of unwinding your old conditioning is a process. The learning how to earn more by working less is a process. So while you may want the result right now, I guarantee you would take that result in 3 months or 6 months or 1 year. So what if, instead of getting frustrated because the change is not immediate, you decided that I'm going to start walking this path to mastery. I'm going to start walking this path to learn how to make the majority of my life living my life. And the secondary thing is working in my life. And then learning how to balance those and align those in a way so that I'm doing the work that I want, that I'm doing the work I love, I'm passionate, I'm aligned with it, and I'm creating the success I want. And maybe you're not at that level yet where you found the work you love. Like, I didn't find the work I love till I was 39 years old, so don't feel bad. But finding the work you love is less about finding it and more being in less resistance to it occurring. Because if you are open to the process of, in the process, step number 5 of the DTI framework, in the process, if you are in the process of aligning with growth and expansion will happen. If that growth and expansion has to go with your understanding of how you create the life you want and how you learn how to create and find and discover the work you're passionate about and create the financial abundance you want at the level you want, that will happen if you are operating in the frame. DTI step 5, if you're operating in the frame where that will occur, then it will occur. So often we get caught up in these like, oh my God, I didn't learn it and I forget it. But the thing we want to do is choose the path. What new path are you walking? One of the new paths I'm walking right now is the path to mastering communicating with my audience. Because what I've learned in my life is that, in my business, especially last year, is that one of my things that stressed me the most about money was lead generation, because I thought I was never good at it. But the reality that I've learned from kind of studying my friend, client, and mentor, Brandon, is that Brandon generates a lot of business because he's amazing at communicating with his audience. So I realized if I learn to master communication with my audience, and I follow that process of becoming a master of communicating with my audience, and maybe that's email, and maybe it's phone calls, and maybe it's TikTok or whatever. It's an evolution. It's constant evolution. If I walk that path, then I'd never worry about money again, because it all comes from personal branding and your audience and that sort of thing. So I wanted to learn that. So I decided that I'm going to walk that path. And have I mastered it? No. Have I made significant progress in the past 30 days? Yes, because I made the decision to start walking the path to mastery. And the path to mastery, when you choose to the path of mastery, it gives your brain more leeway, and it gives you more openness to learning and trial and error and taking detours and processes and all that stuff. So you basically will progress faster, even though it feels slower. So my question to you is, what do you need to start mastering? Like, what would you start mastering? And this is a new concept I've been thinking about, is like, and I had this question pop up when I was talking to a client, is like, what skill could you learn that would solve 90% of your problems? What skill could you learn that'll solve 90% of your problems? Now, you may need to divide that by business problems and personal problems. But from a business point of view, my number one stress last year was cash flow, because I grew the business in a way that wasn't profitable, and I was trying to make up for an unprofitable structure of the business with more revenue, and that doesn't work. So the thing that would have solved 90% of my problems last year was more revenue, more sales. So really, the skill that I could master is lead generation, which is really communication with my audience. So if I master communication with my audience, 90% of the problems I experienced last year would go away. What about you? What is that? So as we look into this next year, more with less, maybe we double our income, double our output in half the time. What is that outcome you're after? Think about it right now. What is that thing you want? Is it more money? Is it more time, more freedom, more happiness, better relationship? Do you want children? Do you want adventure? Whatever you want. And think about that outcome for this year. And maybe it's, I want to do more with less. What skill can you personally master that'll help you do that? Like, what skill can you walk the path to mastery on that will automatically solve that problem? Now, that answer may pop up for you right now, but if it doesn't pop up right now, can you get a sense of a version of you that knows what skill you need to learn to master your primary problem? Can you get a sense of that version? Because if you can, do that frame shift and that skill will show up. Now, when I discovered that skill, it was a process for me to uncover the skill I needed to learn, but I still learned it anyway. So you can learn it too. It may not pop up immediately, but if it doesn't, start walking that path as well. Because when we start to walk that path, the resources will be there. So DTI Framework Step 5, we are in aligning the process of life to uncover the skill that'll solve our primary problem. Which one will do that for you? And could you actually take enjoyment in walking that path? Because I'm guessing that path for you, at least at the beginning, is probably uncomfortable. Because for me, getting clear on my primary problem was uncomfortable, because I'd spent so much time focused on the byproduct of my primary problem, which was my secondary problem. Because my secondary problem was more comfortable to work on than my primary problem. So think about that. So that's your action item for today, is like, think about, what is that thing you want? What's that problem you're trying to solve? That gap you're trying to close? Maybe it's more with less. And what would you need to master in order to consistently execute? Like, what skill could you master that problem would disappear, boom, instantly? Because when you identify that, that's the path you need to start walking. Start walking that path. It is absolutely going to make you feel a little uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. So take that advice, focus on that skill you can master. And what if you actually decided to enjoy the process of solving that problem? What if you decided to enjoy the process of learning that skill? I'm Jason Drees with the Do the Impossible podcast. Don't forget to go to freeintrosession.com to book in your own Do the Impossible goal setting session. My team will align you with an intuitive target to get you on the right track. And until the next episode, when we continue this evolution into the study of human greatness, I will see you there. Take care. Bye-bye.